Hello and welcome to Nerd Subculture. I'm your host Jared.
And I'm Edwina.
And we're doing a Once More With Feeling series on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Today we're doing Season 4, Episode 5, Beer Bad.
Beer Foamy.
Beer Foamy. This episode first aired November 2nd, 1999, written by Tracy Forbes and directed by David Solomon. Over to you, Eddie.
This is a full spoiler podcast. I'm a huge fan, but Jared has never watched the series all the way through, and I'm trying to convince him it's worth his time.
Yes, and just for apologies on this episode, we're actually not recording in our $10,000 studio. We're doing it in our lounge room. Unfortunately, Eddie has hurt her foot. And
no, well, that's why we've been away a little bit longer than we expected.
Yeah, there's been a bit of a break, so yeah.
I may have broken my ankle and spent a couple of weeks in hospital.
Yes.
So it's a bit over a week.
Yeah. Yeah, it was long enough. So yeah, we're in our lounge room, so the hardwood floors are probably going to reverb a bit in this episode. So apologies if it does sound a little odd, but unfortunately that's just one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah, a small child may interrupt.
Yeah, we might hear a cat meow, might hear a door open in the background, might hear a car toot in the background. So
yeah, there might be some ambulances going past.
Yeah. So it's not the apocalypse happening, although maybe it is. I don't know. But back to the episode, Eddie. Beer Bad.
Beer Foamy.
Beer Foamy. Beer Bad, Beer Foamy. What was it like, Eddie, rewatching this episode for you?
So within the community, this episode is largely debated by fans as being the worst episode of Buffy ever.
I have read that.
But personally, I actually really like this episode.
Yeah?
I think it's one of the funniest. It's lighthearted. The themes aren't too deep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's kind of silly. It's sort of a fun, silly episode.
Yeah.
It's also Buffy again, still adjusting to life in college, and
yes,
you have to have the binge drinking beer episode, and
so they've sort of already covered that in the previous episode, haven't they?
Not really.
Or the beer drinking, or specifically, or the drink spiking. I guess
that was drink spiking. This is just binge drinking. Binge drinking, casual sex, the repercussions of that, the id.
The
fact that beer removes your super ego, or your ego and your super ego.
Yeah.
And reduces you to your id, your base desires.
Yeah, it was pretty noticeable in this episode. I wasn't a fan of it, to be honest, either.
Really?
Well, like you said, it was fun. Yeah. I guess it was a fun episode. Monster of the Week, just one of those
silly, it's
self-centered episodes.
Yeah, it's one of those episodes that's just about college, Buffy adjusting to college life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Again, she's still moping about Parker. And I think this is the final episode where she's moping about him. Yeah. So yeah, it's Buffy, adjusting, indulging in a little bit of beer.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with a bit of beer in college. In fact, I think it's kind of expected.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's a pretty normal part of, I'd say, growing up. But we can go into that.
Yep. We'll get back into that, Eddie. But let's do the summary.
Summary, yes.
Buffy is still hurting because Parker dumped her after their night together. In a daydream during one of Professor Walsh's classes, she saves Parker's life and he swears to do anything to get her back. A dialogue with Willow later shows how much Buffy is not yet over him. In the real world, Xander gets a job as a bartender with a fake ID and has to endure the insults from students. He gets to test his empathy skills with none other than Buffy, who proceeds to get drunk on Black Forest beer with 4 college boys. Oz and Willow are in the Bronx together, but he feels a strange connection with the pretty singer Veruca when she gets on stage with her band Shy. The next morning, Willow not only has to cope with Veruca having called her a groupie, but also with Buffy, who seems to be suffering from a hangover. That evening, when Buffy continues drinking, it is soon revealed why, that someone has a chemical lab set up and is putting more into the beer than just malt. Xander finally sends Buffy home. When her 4 drinking buddies turn into violent Neanderthals, he finds out the owner of the pub has been cursing the beer as a revenge for 20 years of college kids taunting him. Despite the pub owner explaining that the effects of the beer will wear off after a day or so, Xander heads off, knowing the damage could be done in that time. While the boys escape to the streets of Sunnydale, Xander gets Giles to help. They find Buffy drawing cave paintings on her dorm wall saying, "Parker bad." Giles and Xander are unable to keep Buffy in her room when she gets a craving for more beer. Meanwhile, Willow confronts Parker with what she says he has done to Buffy. When he turns his charm on her, she plays along, then asks how gullible he thinks she is before going into a rant about how primitive men are, just when 4 Neanderthal students burst into the room. They knock Willow and Parker unconscious and start a fire that rapidly burns out of control. Xander catches up with Buffy, and when they see smoke from the Neanderthal's fire, they rush to help. Though afraid of the flames and unable to figure out how to use an extinguisher, Buffy saves Willow and Parker. In the end, Parker thanks Buffy for saving his life and apologizes just the way she had dreamt, just to get knocked unconscious by Buffy's club. The Neanderthal students become subsequently locked in a random van. The end. All right, Eddie. So where are we starting from? Beer, foamy.
Beer bad, beer foamy. Look, I'm gonna talk about the reasons why I like this episode.
Go
Because
ahead.
it does get absolutely panned.
All right, why do you like it? Why do you hate it?
Okay, I really like this episode because Parker gets knocked. He doesn't get knocked unconscious just once. He gets knocked unconscious twice
Yes.
by Buffy.
Twice?
Yeah.
What was the first time?
The first time is when he's actually in the fire
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
and she knocks him unconscious, and you think Buffy's just going to leave him there
Mhm.
because prior to that, she had already, like what we had said before, like how, like in previous episodes, we've discussed, Slayers killing humans.
Yeah.
And she was like, what if I just knocked him unconscious and put him in a cave that she knew that vampires would?
Oh, all right. So reference to that.
Yeah.
Oh, I've forgotten about that.
She knocks him unconscious, but then she does pick him up and throw him out the window.
Oh, good for you, Buffy.
Yeah. And then he comes up, apologizes, and she bangs him on the head again.
Yeah. Some bad concussions there, I reckon.
Yeah. Well deserved bumps on the head.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Willow not falling for his bullshit. Like Willow calling him out, and she's amazing in that scene. I really love that scene.
Yeah.
Because you really think that she's falling for it, but she's actually manipulating him. Yeah, I love that scene.
Well, she wanted, it's that thing of like, she wanted to see his cards.
Yes. She wanted to see how he worked.
Is that maybe, you could say, foreshadowing the Black Widow interrogation? Maybe.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, where she gets them to spell the beans when it looks like the other person's in charge, sort of thing. Kind of similar, maybe.
Yeah, and the other thing is you get Cave Slayer, and Cave Slayer is just hilarious.
Yeah.
She's
her staring at the TV and people gone.
What is it? Beer bad, beer phobia. And
when she's staring at the TV,
boys smell good,
and she says something like,
"Bring people back."
Bring people back. Yeah.
And it's the her slapping the wall. Parker bad. Yeah. So you get Cave Slayer. You get Xander trying to be a bartender.
Yeah.
That's really.
Well, it's given something for his character to do, I guess, because he's got to hang around them somewhere. He wasn't at the Bronzer, some other pub, though, was it?
Yeah, no, it was the campus pub that they're at.
Oh, okay, so it's even closer. So it's way to have him on campus, but not be a student or some sort of helper or something.
Yeah, but yeah, I think they're all very valid reasons to love this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Now the reasons why I personally think people hate this episode. It's the fact that it is so evidently a PSA episode. Right.
Now, you've brought that up. That's a good thing. So I want to talk about this. So you mentioned, and I have read that they forward this or offered this as a PSA episode initially, but it got rejected.
Yes.
Because it was more mythical reasons. But what I found interesting about what you said about that was the fact I didn't understand the whole PSA thing initially. I thought the PSAs was some sort of quota that they had to do.
No, it was the fact that they would offer, like, it was a certain amount of funding that the government were offering up
Yeah.
if you included the dangers of sex and drugs and
Yeah, which I found interesting because I just thought it was a requirement, and that's why they did it. Because it seemed every time they did these PSA episodes, they were always quite terrible because they were sort of restricting their art to sort of meet a certain standard, so they would pass some sort of regulation or something, which seems silly to do because you're just going to compromise the whole thing, really, aren't you? Because it has to be done a certain way, and it's not done in someone's vision. If you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. But anyway, the funding was rejected.
Yeah, so it was rejected. Yeah, but I just found that quite interesting that that's how it works. Like I said, I just thought it was a quota, not and not just something they could do themselves and then offer that. Do you know how much funding they would get, or what it worked out?
It must have been worth it.
Well, I suppose,
then again, they didn't have. Well, the other thing is the show didn't have a huge budget, so it was a way of getting more money onto the show.
I could understand that from a budgetary sort of decision, especially when the show is starting out and it's trying to find its feet, that it would opt to do more of these episodes. But yeah, as the show would progress, it's got a following. It doesn't, their budgets are probably far bigger than the money they get for the government to cover anything, really. Maybe just an aid for Joss Whedon or something like that.
Yeah, I guess. But also other reasons why I think people hate it is because it is so silly. It is such a silly concept.
Yeah.
The way that they do kind of shoehorn Xander into it, because he is way too young to be I didn't know that there's an age limit on being a bartender, but I guess.
Well, I assume you'd have to be drinking age, and they're not drinking age?
No, because they're all like 18, 19, I guess.
Okay, right. And he got him with a fake ID.
Yeah.
I'm just really surprised about that as well, like to get a job with a fake ID.
Yeah.
Could you really do that?
I don't know.
I guess you could, maybe.
I don't know.
How dodgy the bar is. Although I remember that movie, The People versus Larry Flint, and Courtney Love's character. She was a stripper, and I think Woody Harrison was looking at her, and he says, "Oh, is she 18? Or she's 21 or something?" He's like, "Yeah, she's got an ID." And he's like, "My dog can get an ID." Yeah.
Yeah.
As if maybe that's something that's never. People have often questioned that, I guess, or they're pretty easy to forge. I'm guessing, maybe the old laminated ones, I guess.
Yeah. It's much harder to do it now.
Yeah, I'd imagine the IDs you get now are pretty. Pretty sophisticated.
I used to print IDs as a job. It's much harder to do now than. It's a very complicated process now.
Yeah.
Another reason I think this is also hated is that it's Buffy she's still moping about Parker. Like the fact that she's still hung up on this guy that, she should have been over this a while. She's already, it's 2-3 episodes now of her moping.
Well, she didn't mope as much for Angel, did she?
No.
Considering she killed him and he came back from the dead and everything.
Yeah. She was nowhere near as mopey as this. And you can kind of see, Willow's starting to get a bit sick of it as well.
Again. This guy.
And she's going on about the bubble Buffy stuff. Maybe I'm in his bubble. And I think it's also, this is the episode that, like, there's sort of that B plot with Oz and Veruca and Willow.
Yeah, I found that a little distracting, but I'm guessing he wasn't infatuated with her on a sexual desire level, but there was something else going on there.
Yeah.
Did we see that character in another episode when he walked past her and they kind of locked eyes for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's I don't know what that's about, but I'm guessing something to do with his werewolfism.
Yeah. It's also this is also sort of the start of the breakdown of their relationship.
Oh.
So, yeah.
What makes me sad about that is that's when we don't see Seth Green anymore, isn't it? Yeah. That's when he leaves the show.
Yeah, pretty much. He leaves the show to go do his movie, become a big movie star.
Well, I think he's a little underutilized in the show anyway. I think they could have used him a lot more.
Well, maybe they had more plans for him, but...
Yeah, but even so far, he's been in it for 2-3 seasons now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like he's never really had a there's never been a plot centered around him at all, apart from
Oh
the first few
there's
episodes.
there's been a couple of episodes around him, but it's normally his werewolfiness.
But
that's
even
the
that, I
issue.
feel like they haven't really explored much either. I just feel like that's something they've just.
And maybe
Just
they're
sort of
going
left.
to explore it in the
Okay.
next this
All
season.
right, okay, all
You're
right.
kind of jumping the gun on that.
Well, it's been a couple of seasons though, so you think
Yeah.
they would have addressed this a little earlier, and this is the
Well,
season he
he's
leaves.
already mentioned, I think in the previous episode, Fear Itself, he's like he does have a real fear about his wolf side because he has no control over it. Yeah.
Even more reason to talk about it.
Yeah. So this is another reason why I think the episode is because they introduce Veruca, and Veruca is apparently one of the most hated characters.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Little Miss Cool Girl.
Even more than Parker?
Yeah, up there. I think possibly more than him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's always the female characters everyone seems to hate on, don't they? If you notice in shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So start of the episode, we get a classroom scene. So you know what that means? It's linked thematically. And
Does it? Why?
well, whenever there's a classroom scene, it always links thematically to the theme of the episode.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Always.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just read out what Maggie Walsh said. So I did this in like year 11 psychology, I think this was brought up. I think I had
Year
to-
11 psychology. Oh,
Year
wow.
11 psychology.
Wow.
But they're in college. So.
I'm not interested in that.
This is what Maggie Walsh says in the lecture. These are the things we want. Simple things. Comfort, sex, shelter, food. We always want them, and we want them all the time. The id doesn't learn. It doesn't grow up. It has the ego telling it what it can't have, and it has the super ego telling it what it shouldn't want. But the id works solely out of the pleasure principle. It wants. Yeah. So, and then the principle of that, the cursed beer, is that the beer removes the super ego and the ego. So it's your pure, you get turned to the pure id.
So what is the id?
They're like elements of your psyche.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like what? I don't understand anything you said.
Okay.
So explain it to me like I'm 5. Let's just pretend I have no idea what you're talking about and explain it to me like I'm 5.
I don't really know how to do that.
Oh, okay.
Because this is just theoretical. So, okay, well, the elements within the show,
Okay, yes.
I could say, so there's lots of id monsters. So vampires are seen as id monsters. Werewolves are id monsters. They run basically off hormones.
Mm-hmm.
They have very basic wants and needs.
Oh, like a zombie. So zombies just feed and consume.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And so then the super ego would be Giles.
Mm-hmm.
And then her ego would be someone like Willow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right,
Does that kind of...
no.
Yeah.
I sort of.
I
get what you mean.
I don't really know how to... As I said, I'm trying to remember back to freaking year 11 psychology.
Oh, it was only a few years ago.
Might be a little bit longer than that now. All right, I want to talk about Willow.
Yes.
And that she proves that she cannot be sweet-talked. So she's done that before.
When did she do that?
In the pack, like Xander tries to sweet-talk her and she doesn't fall for it.
Oh, yeah.
And then this one, Parker tries to sweet-talk her and she doesn't fall for it.
Going to talk to you about something very important.
But when I first watched this episode, I think I groaned going, oh no, Willow, don't fall for it.
You thought she was going to fall for it.
I thought she was
I knew
gonna
she
fall.
was on it. I knew what she was doing the whole time. Yeah. No.
But yeah, I think when I first saw it, I was like, no, come on, he's a con man.
Yeah, no. Didn't fall for a second.
And then calls him out on his bullshit. And he is legit put in his place.
Yeah, he's completely shocked. Like, oh shit, that didn't work.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah, his
That-
little con man act.
That's
didn't
all my
work.
moves right there and there, and I'm out of moves now.
Yeah.
Did I mention my father died?
Well, my father died last year.
Yes. The weapon of choice.
Yeah, that's his failsafe.
Yeah. So producer Douglas Petrie
Mm-hmm.
says despite the intensely negative reaction of the fans to seeing Buffy being battered about by the forces of college and being treated so callously by Parker, they had to ride out that until now because we didn't want her to find her strength immediately in a new setting. So that could also be why people don't like it, is because Buffy sort of gets battered around a bit in these first number of episodes.
Yeah, I guess. But, it's a hero's journey,
Yeah.
Can't be perfect. Can't all be Ray Skywalker.
So, Jared, had you seen this episode before?
I don't think so, but it looked really familiar. The Neanderthals running around and the cave woman Buffy.
I think that's a meme.
Yeah,
as well.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I may have seen this episode with you watching it and thought it was quite. And
So
just remember that.
I never skip this episode.
Yeah,
like I know
yeah.
lots of people.
There's a cat meowing in the
There's a cat
background.
meowing in
Warning,
the
there's a cat meowing in the background. She's got food.
Yeah, so I don't normally skip this episode
Mm-hmm.
at all. Like I love this episode. Like I really do.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, it is on the list of what most people would skip. Like if they're going to skip episodes, they'll skip this episode.
Okay. Wow.
But yeah,
Harsh judges.
yeah. Oh, I've got another little thing from Douglas Petrie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it says the most striking features is the twin morale. Beer and casual sex are bad for you. In a BBC interview, Douglas Petrie states, well, very young people get unlimited access to alcohol and become horrible. We all do it, or most of us do it, and live to regret it, and we wanted to explore that. But are those things really that bad? I suppose in the morale of a...
It's funny how they say those things are bad, but everyone does it. So, what do you make of that? Like you're saying, oh, you shouldn't do that. I did that. Everyone done it. So we're all still here, aren't we? I mean, you make bad choices and stuff like that, but you are a collection of bad choices throughout your life, and that's just something you have to learn. I mean, you learn from the adage of learning from mistakes, and it makes you who you are and makes you a better person in some way. So, could you not do it and be a better person? Does that, if you don't do that, are you a better person than someone who does?
You're more morally superior because you haven't...
But to whose morals? His. Yeah. To whose morals is that, really relevant? I mean, depending what you're doing in those situations, but just because you don't do them, does that mean you're a better person? The answer is no, because maybe that you do other things that are worse. Yeah. I mean, not just because you don't do that means you're a better person. I don't believe that for a second. No, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit!
So did you go down any rabbit holes this episode?
A little psychedelic rabbit hole, actually.
Oh.
There was a line that...
Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I spent the 60s in an electric Kool-Aid funky Satan groove.
Actually, it was the early 70s.
You should know better.
And you should know better.
Yeah. So I went down a little rabbit hole of the electric Kool-Aid acid test, which was a book written by Tom Wolfe. Do you know who that is?
Nope.
No. But yeah, I don't know who he is. So Tom Wolfe was an author who wrote a book about his experience with Ken Kessley and his band of merry pranksters. So this may be reference to maybe that Simpsons episode where Homer goes with the guys who used to hang out with his mum, the hipsters that she joined and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So with part of that counterculture in the 60s was Ken Kesey and his band of merry pranksters who drove across America in a bus called Further. There's even a whole documentary about the bus. It's like a school bus. They're all painted with all these swirly colours and tie-dye sort of colours and stuff. So, they were sort of part of all that counterculture movement of taking psychedelic drugs and, tripping out and experiencing a higher consciousness of being and all that stuff. So just reading about that. And this guy also spent time with the Hells Angels, the Grateful Dead, Allen Ginsberg. I don't know who that is. You know who that is? I know these names sound familiar. That name sounds familiar. I know the Grateful Dead, obviously, and the Deadheads.
Yeah.
So part of all that sort of crew. They've recently made another documentary where they redid the trip. This famous trip that they did at 15,000 miles across America, where they traveled to all these music festivals.
Okay, where did they get the money to do that? Or they just-
Well, this
just
is in the
busking,
60s, so
or-
yeah, just busking and selling tie-dye T-shirts and stuff like that. I'd imagine it was it sounded like a cool trip, when you don't have a job, you can just drive across the country and do this. So they redid it with a new band of merry pranksters, millennial pranksters, I guess.
it would probably be more like Gen Z pranksters.
Gen Z
now.
pranksters, maybe, yeah.
Because millennials now have jobs and are about
Well,
to
some
turn
of them
40.
don't. Well,
About to turn 40.
well, this was their job. They're part of their Instagram sort of profile, I guess.
Okay.
Which may be counter to the revolution, counterculture or something. So, so I'm just reading about this, and it seemed all quite interesting about what these people did and what they got up to. And that Ken Kesey actually, one of his famous works that he wrote was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, okay. That's where you end up after you've spent like 10 years taking acid.
Probably, yeah. Well, he actually based it on his account as working in a hospital for veterans. So that's what his experience with that was. Because I think a few of them were veterans from memory or something.
Okay.
What if the Indian guy was a veteran? Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe one of those wind talkers or something.
Could be.
I know, I'm just pulling that out of my ass. I have no idea about that. Yeah, so counterculture of the 60s. It's a long time ago now, isn't it? Yeah, when you think about it.
What is it? The 60s are almost like the 90s to us now.
Yeah,
Like
I guess
when we were
so.
growing up.
That was our counterculture, We want to allow garage bands, So I guess, but no, it was just interesting reading about that. And the bus, Further was called. So just the fact, it's got its own Wikipedia page too.
Oh,
The bus that they used to travel across America, which sounded like they had good times. So, and I think similar style of like Hunter S. Thompson, that gonzo journalism of getting involved with the actual culture that you're with. So yeah, and that was really about it. Actually, something else I wanted to mention, a few things before we get into question time. The character played Colm, the main sort of the beer drinking guy.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I looked at him, he just looked like he was like 2 seconds away from becoming a demon. The way his eyes sort of looked, he got quite sunken sort of eyes, and they were quite dark. I just envisioned him with the black contact lenses sort of thing, and just turning into a demon and spewing some gibberish. So I wanted to mention that. I also wanted to mention Das Bier der Bösen Denkensart. The Beer of Evil Thinking. That was a German title of this episode. Yeah. I thought that was a nice one. Better than Beer Bad. The Beer of Evil Thinking.
Yes. Also, Cal Penn is in this episode.
Oh, yes, Cal Penn. Yes. And I actually read something that he wrote, because he said when he was doing roles in his early career, a lot of the auditions were always for some stereotypical foreign guy that he'd always be playing, which he kind of really hated. And this was the first time where he wasn't one of those people. He was just a drinking buddy.
Yeah.
And that the fact that he had Indian heritage didn't wasn't necessary for the role that he was playing, which was kind of refreshing for him, apparently.
Well, he ends up having a role in Angel as well.
Yeah, he's in. Is it not the same character? Or
No,
he's a demon.
He's a demon.
An Indian demon.
Oh, he wears like a fez on his head, but when they take the fez off, he's wearing the fez to hide the fact that he uses his brain to do evil.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah.
I was going to say
the fez is there to so that he can pass as human.
Right.
Because he sort of has a part.
For a second there, it sounded like he took one step forward and 2 steps back.
No, he kind of needed the fez to. At least they didn't put him in a turban.
Yeah, at least the fez is a little. Everyone kind of wears fez. Anyone can wear a fez,
Yeah. So he has the fez to hide his weird head.
One day you walk past the fez and not put it on.
Yeah.
All right, Eddie, we're doing question time?
Yeah, let's go into question time.
I hope that answers a little bit your question.
So, Jared, which character was your favourite in this episode?
I was going to say Buffy, but not Buffy. Caveman Buffy.
Yeah, so I go, Cave Slayer.
Oh, Cave Slayer. Yeah, I like that. Cave Slayer.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what Xander calls her. Don't make Cave Slayer angry.
Oh, yeah.
Which character do you love to hate?
So I went with Colm. Is that his name? Colm? The main drinking guy?
I don't think they really gave him.
Well, that's who he was credited as. C-O-L-M. I've never heard of that name before. Colm?
Colm.
No, C-O-L-M.
Yeah, it's just big
Colm.
Colm.
No, Colm. I don't know. That's
Colm. I don't know.
With an M in the end. I don't know. Any Colm listeners that are listening to us at the moment think, that's my name. Don't make fun of my name. Yeah, him, I guess. Because he's a bit of a dick at the start, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, anyone.
He doesn't get better.
Yeah. Oh, he's just a bit of a privileged douchebag.
Yeah, I hate those type. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Parker. Yeah, again.
You don't like Parker?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, I think this is the last episode that is.
All right, we don't get to see Parker anymore.
I think we do see him one more time, but, this is the last time he's a main
Gets a speaking role.
Aspect. Yeah. This is the last time you have Buffy moping about him.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, move on, Buffy.
I think she finally moves on after this. What was the most memorable fight scene?
Caveman versus car. And they start attacking the car, thinking it's some sort of sentient being that's attacked them.
Yeah.
Very caveman style, yeah.
Yeah. There's not a great deal of fight scenes in this.
No, apart from the start, I think there's
the
dream sequence.
I just went with the second fight, fantasy vamp fight, with when Parker appears and apologizes with ice cream and flowers.
And his shirt off.
And his shirt unbuttoned. What was your favorite LOL moment?
I think all the scenes with cave woman Buffy were all quite funny in a dorm, looking at the TV and where people gone or people.
Where people go.
Where people go. Yeah, and then drawing on the thing. Parker bad.
Parker bad. What is it? Want beer.
Correct.
Want beer now. What is it? Boy, smell good.
Yeah. I think Xander liked that.
Boy, smell good. So, and the whole, so we've all learned our lesson. Beer foaming. My favorite LOL moment has to be when Buffy knocks out Parker for the second time. And like after he apologizes to her, and all of them, it's sort of shot from his perspective, and none of them like go to help him or anything.
Yeah.
He's knocked unconscious.
Yeah.
And they all just kind of stand and look at him and then walk off.
Well, that's a common trait at this college. People getting knocked out and no one noticing and just carrying on with their business. So,
yeah. Favorite scene?
I think the caveman going wild was pretty fun. Again, them just roaming the streets and just tearing amok, and then in the library, or was it library they were in?
No, it's like a little coffee den type thing.
Yeah, start tearing the place apart. Yeah, kind of like them.
Yeah, so I think you already know which one I'm going to go with.
Yep.
And it's, Willow calling out Parker on his bullshit. I'm going to read out the scene.
All right, go on.
Okay, so Parker, I don't mean this in a bragging way, but I do get to know a lot of women. But I haven't found the one yet. I've yet to find the girl that I can just sit with, feel totally at ease, feeling whatever's on my mind, or even sit with comfortably in silence. Willow, can I tell you something kind of private? Willow's like, okay, I mean, I feel you've shown me a perspective I haven't really thought much about before. What is it you wanted to tell me? Parker, just that I've enjoyed, talking to you here tonight. Willow's like, me too. I mean, with you, you know, I'm wondering something about you. Parker's like, what? And Willow responds with, just how gullible do you think I am? I mean, with your gentle eyes and your shy smile and your ability to talk openly, even to me, you're unbelievable. This isn't sharing. This isn't connecting. It's the pleasure principle. That's right. I got your number, id boy. The only thing you're thinking about is how long till you can jump my bones. Willow then's like, I mean, you men, it's all about the sex. You find a woman, you drag her to your den or whatever necessary, just as long as you get the sex. I tell you, men haven't changed since the dawn of time. And then the caveman break. Joe's like, you see?
Well, that hit the spot.
Yay.
All right. Now, your least favourite scene.
I just found the Willow Oz scenes, the awkwardness. I don't know. Their scenes together, like within the hallway, and she's kind of like, I don't want to see you. And he's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know.
I've got to go with the privileged, the overprivileged douche guy teasing Xander for being a poor, uneducated bartender. And with, the geopolitical ramifications of bioengineering, to sound super douchey, be nice to people working in the service industry. You don't know what their circumstances are. Just be nice to them.
How about just be nice to everyone? I know we're going to get off track here, but I just find it a little odd when especially like when there's PSA ads and there's like billboards, don't yell at the people at the Coles or the supermarkets and stuff like that. And we shouldn't do that to anyone. I just don't see the need to single out those people specifically.
No, it's just the fact that they have to talk to people every single minute of, They're generally just a target.
Yeah, but so those people they're targeting with these ads, they're already dicks. I don't think they care. You know what I mean? I just feel like these ads are just kind of pointless, and people who do that are just like that anyway. I don't know. I just find it rich that you have to single out certain people in industries to say, "Oh, be nice to these people in these industries." Or why? I mean, they deal with a lot of people, so they probably will interact with more people. But I just find it weird to single out specifically them, even like hospital workers. Don't punch hospital workers.
Yeah, but do you know how many times my sister's a nurse in the in an ED?
Yeah,
and she also once got deployed to Afghanistan, and I was worried about that. And she said, "I'm safer in Afghanistan than I am in an ED." She'd been punched multiple times.
Yeah, and
over
you
the
think,
years.
and obviously those ads didn't work for those people, and I'm never gonna. It just seemed fruitless because it's not. Yeah, it's the people she's dealing with in ERs are probably people. A lot of especially in that area she works. Don't give a shit about that anyway.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, look, it's not going to hurt putting those ads, but I kind of just see them and think, I don't know. Those people have already made their minds up of what type of people they are and who they're going to talk to, or how they're going to talk to people. So I find it, having these ads are a bit silly. But
yeah, but the way I think it was the fact that he sort of was trying to spout that he was so much, he was above, Xander. Like, he was so much better than Xander
Yeah, the guy's a dick. Yeah.
because he was educated. But yeah, you don't know, but that guy's in a position of privilege.
Yeah.
Like, Xander could have gone to college if his parents weren't jobless.
But nothing gives you a right to insult someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, there's no, regardless if he's a bartender or he's a guy at the pub, just some other patron there, you wouldn't talk to someone like that. And just because it's behind the bar, it somehow gives you a right to talk to someone like that. I don't know. I mean, some people are just dicks. Yeah,
I guess.
You can't outlaw that.
Yeah, but then he's not actually that bad in the rest of the episode.
No, it's just that one scene, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, no, we're talking about he's worse. He sets a fucking place on fire.
Well, that's after he gets turned into a Neanderthal.
Which is kind of interesting for his character to go from one extreme to another, to a rich, snooty college kid to a literal caveman.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest character arc for him.
They needed to do that so that it was, like they had to, well, I guess they had to make him a bit of a douchebag, so it's not seen as awful when
if he was one of those rowdy college jocks or something that's going around doing the chugging the beers and stuff, and it probably wouldn't be a greater step to see him degrade to Neanderthal. It just would be like to see him, it's several, so it's more of an extreme.
Even Buffy's like 4 really smart guys.
All at once.
Yeah.
Ow.
Oh, Buffy, you okay? All right, moving on. So, what was your favorite quote?
So, in reference to my rabbit hole, the conversation with Giles and Xander, and Giles, I can't believe you served Buffy that beer. And Harris, I didn't know it was evil. You knew it was beer. Well, excuse me, mister, I spent the 60s in an electric Kool-Aid funky satin groove. Replies, it was the early 70s and you should have known better.
I'm just going to go with want beer. Like beer. Beer good. Beer foamy. And I might have used this a few times in life.
Beer foamy.
Beer foamy.
It is foamy, though.
Especially Guinness.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very foamy.
Yeah. Now, who gets the wooden spoon?
I think Parker's going to get the wooden spoon.
Yeah, I've got Parker.
Yeah.
He gets really shit on, rightedly so, in this episode. Deserves everything he gets.
Yeah. Definitely going to give him the wooden spoon.
Yeah. Who gets the MVP?
And Xander gets the MVP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
I thought he saved the day and helped Buffy home. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to go with Cave Slayer because even though she has been altered and lost her, super ego and whatnot, her Slayer part still had the hero thing going on. So she did manage to save Willow and the others.
Yeah. She couldn't use a fire extinguisher
But she
properly.
couldn't use a fire extinguisher.
She gets the fire extinguisher, throws it at the fire. Oh, shit, that didn't work. Now what?
Yeah.
Could it explode? Would that be bad to throw a fire extinguisher on the fire? I'm wondering.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. And what do you rate this episode out of 10?
I gave this 4 cigarette lighters.
Okay.
Out of 10.
What is it?
Well,
rough day.
Rough day. That's funny. And then when the girl's actually hitting on him with the cigarette in her mouth, he holds up the no smoking sign.
Yep.
So was there no smoking in there?
I don't know.
Definitely is now.
Yeah. I'm going to go 8 out of 10 foamy Black Frost beers.
Oh, nice.
So, is there anything you wanted to add, Jared?
No, I think, and yeah, just apologies again. I'm not sure how the sound is going to come out. It might sound a little echoey. You may have heard some cats meowing in the background.
There may have been a few doors closed.
A few doors open and closed. So, yeah, as I said, we're not in our multi-million-dollar studio at the back.
That I can't get into.
The bong room.
The man cave.
The man cave, yeah. So should we just wrap this up? I think we shall
Yep.
just wrap this up. Well, I hope you've enjoyed listening to us. We did have a bit of a break. We're back now. We're going to pump out some more episodes, I think, aren't we, Eddie?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
All right. So, yeah, if you like what you hear, if you want to support this channel at all, look, all you got to do is give us a thumbs up or just a like, a comment, anything like that, you know. If you really want to support us, just, you know, put some money in the envelope and just send it to Australia. They know us, all right? Just put Nerd Subculture on there and they'll bring it to our house. They're like, oh, yeah, it's Jared's house. Yeah, next to Mr. Prime Minister. But also, yeah, online, Eddie, where can you find us?
Yeah, you can find us on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. There is a Facebook group, and you can email us at nerdsubculture@gmail.com.
Yeah, so tune in next time to Nerd Subculture. Take care. Bye.
Grrr.
Parker bad.